Do you love animals? I have a wonderful interview for you. It's with the wonderful Pamela Miller, who is an animal communicator, a psychic medium, and she also does Reiki for both animals and pets. You're going to find out how Pamela saw spirits when she was a child, and also how she telepathically communicates with animals to find out about their health conditions, their behavioral issues, or even to find out about the concerns the animal's human has and get the answers for the animal's human. In addition to all of that, Pamela locates lost pets, and she has a wonderful story of encountering a deer stuck in a fence and how she communicated with that deer and helped that deer. This is such a great interview. You're going to love it. So come join us. Heartfelt, many blessings.
Hi there, and welcome to the Grief and Rebirth podcast. I'm your host, author and trauma survivor Irene Weinberg, here to encourage you wherever you are in your healing journey. In each episode, I chat with incredible grief and trauma specialists, healers, mediums, and celebs, as well as remarkable people who have inspiring healing stories to share. If you're looking for a podcast that's both uplifting and inspiring, you've found it. Let us help you find your joy in life.
Hi, everyone. I'm speaking to you today from my studio in West Orange, New Jersey, and I am so delighted to have the pleasure of interviewing Pamela Miller, a fellow Jersey girl who will be speaking to us today from Lincoln Park, New Jersey. Pamela is an animal communicator, a psychic medium, and a Reiki practitioner for both humans and animals. As a child, Pamela recalls being terrified of the spirits she encountered, so she pushed her gift aside and shut it down. Yet, it always seemed normal to her to be able to hear and feel the thoughts of the animals she encountered, and animals who were sick, injured, or in need of help consistently sought Pamela out, even when she was on a vacation. In her early 30s, while Pamela was a teacher in a middle school, she decided to learn about obedience training for dogs, and during that training, she discovered the uniqueness of her gift. After teaching in the middle school, Pamela later became a teacher in an elementary school. Then, after 25 years of teaching and many signs from the universe, Pamela retired, introduced her true self to the world, and now she feels a wonderful sense of peace she had not known before. I'm looking forward to asking Pamela about what it was like to see spirits during her childhood, how she telepathically communicates with animals, why she says that if you don't answer the call, the universe will knock you on your butt until you answer, the healing that her gifts bring to both humans and animals, how she locates lost pets, her experience with a deer stuck in a fence, and more for what is surely going to be a touching, fun, and very enlightening interview. Hi, Pamela. A warm, heartfelt welcome to Grief and Rebirth podcast.
Hello, and thank you, Irene, for having me. What a wonderful day this is. I'm so excited to be here with you and your listeners.
We're going to have a great time. It's going to be such a good. I know everyone's going to be fascinated by this interview because there are a lot of things that people don't think about when it comes to animals, what they do, how they relate, how you can communicate with them. They really have a soul. They really go to the other side. All those things. We're going to talk about all of that today. So let's start when you were a child, because I know you were terrified of the spirits you encountered. So you shut down your gift for many years. What did those spirits you saw look and sound like? Did you see them during the day and at night? How did you shut down your gift, and how did your parents react to it? Or did they didn't want to know about it?
I think they were busy trying to just calm me down because I was so frantic. The spirits came to me, daytime, nighttime, I would see people. Sometimes it was just a light or a sparkle and a feeling, and sometimes I could visually see a spirit, a person, or an animal. And I have found that spirits are just like us. If you tell somebody, go away, I don't want to talk to you, they tend to go away. They really just want to connect with us in some way. And sometimes, they get very excited because they say, "Oh, you can see me, you can hear me. Let's talk." And so I find that if you just tell them no, they'll politely go away. Sometimes they're a little pushy, but for the most part, they will respect your space. Um, and my parents, again, I had older siblings who would, console me and tell me it was a nightmare, it's just a bad dream. My mom would inquire a little bit more. She was very intrigued by everything that I said as I was growing up, but she would still kind of shut it down. She would try to bring it to a religious place so that I didn't get carried away with it, I suppose. But it was interesting.
So your parents were kind of religious, so that kind of precluded them exploring,
Yeah, I wouldn't say they were overly religious, but I think they were afraid of where it was going. Maybe superstition might have played a part in that more than anything.
yeah, it's so fascinating to me. And speaking of, and as a child, like you were what, 4 or 5 when all of this was happening, or even younger, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you're 4
Yes.
years
Yes.
old and you
Yes.
ask your Beagle to go get lunch for you, and she does. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to share this
Yes.
adorable story with us, and how, and your mother's reaction when she brought you your lunch?
Oh my goodness. So my mom was indoors. Again, I was the youngest of 6 children, so everyone was at school. Um, we had a beautiful fenced-in yard, and uh, we had a beagle. Mom had gone inside to get lunch together for me, and instead of going in with her, I let the dog out of the yard and I said, "Go get lunch." And she did. She ran around the corner. We had a warehouse where there were workers, and she went and took somebody's lunch and brought it back to me. It was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And she brought it right to me, and I remember distinctly the wax paper it was wrapped in, and I took a bite, and I gave her a bite, and my mom came out and she was horrified. She said, "Where did you get this food?" I said, "Well, I sent the dog to go get it." And she said, "But," I said, "Don't worry. I'm not eating out of the same end as the dog. I'm eating from the opposite end." So she takes a bite from one end and I take a bite from the other, and we're sharing, and it's okay. And my mother was just mortified, of course, and to this day, I really don't know how that dog knew what exactly I wanted from her, but she listened to me. And I found as a child, my dad was always rescuing animals. So we had lots of animals coming in and out of the house. And I found that when I spoke to them, they listened. They understood what I wanted from them, whether it was to sit on a lawn chair or dig or run or go get lunch. They just listened to me. And as an adult, I now think back, and I'm sure I was sending them some sort of image or telepathic picture that they understood what it was I was looking for, and they complied.
That's amazing. But you don't just call up lunch. You also manifested your second husband, John, who you call your dream come true.
I did.
You're pretty miraculous with what you're able to bring to you. So share that, please.
Well, what a story. I actually manifested my first husband too. I just wasn't clear enough with the universe, which is lesson number one. Always be very clear and specific as to what you want. So,
Wait a minute, wait, I'm going to stop you right there. So if someone
sure.
wants to pray for what they
Yeah,
want, they
be
can't just say,
specific.
bring me $1 million, bring me money or bring me this. They need to be very
Right.
specific as to how they want it.
Absolutely, because you don't want you don't want somebody to deliver you a box of money And okay, now I have a box of money. Well, was it stolen? Is it going to bring you more trouble than what it's going to bring as far as joy? So you want to be specific. Bring me money that I can enjoy, that I can uh, give to charity, or that I can share with my family. Be specific with what your intention is. Intention is incredibly important when you're manifesting. As far as manifesting my second husband, it was a very lonely time for me. Raising my son and my beautiful son and my brother. I have a Down syndrome brother who I am guardian of, who I adore. And it was really just the three of us. And I wanted to share my life with someone. So I started writing letters to him. I didn't know who he was, but at night I would sit and write letters. Dear
So,
sweetheart,
dear
this is what
sweetheart,
I
oh
did
wow.
today. And I started living as if this person already existed. The thing with the universe is when you're asking for something, you have to express gratitude and know that it's coming to you. So I would say thank you to the universe for bringing me my soulmate. Thank you, universe, for bringing me the opportunity to meet Irene. um, to thank the universe before it happens or as if it's already happened. And I do teach classes occasionally on manifesting, usually around Valentine's Day. I try to teach a class on manifesting love. So those that are searching for their life partners can learn how to use the energy of intention, the energy of gratitude, and tap into the universe. The universe wants everything that you want. The universe wants you to be happy. That is uh, that is something that many people don't understand. Everything that you could possibly dream of is there for you. You just have to tap into that energy and that frequency to receive it.
So you teach them how to tap into the energy and the frequency
Yes.
to receive it.
Yes.
I think you're going to be inundated coming Valentine's Day this year.
Oh, I would love that. I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share.
That's
It's
so great.
lots of fun.
That's so great. And so I know that your gifts bring a lot of healing to people. So I'm wondering, first of all, if you have a mediumship reading you'd like to share with us, but even more important, what's it like on the other side, Pamela? What do the souls there do?
Well, the other side is very interesting. First and foremost, there is no time on the other side, which can sometimes be challenging for mediums because we're trying to determine, how long this person's been gone, etc. Which is why sometimes I will ask questions during a session to try to get a handle on who I'm speaking to and where they're at. But how fabulous is that there's no time on the other side? We have nothing to where we have to be somewhere. There's nothing that we have uh to run to. And basically everything on the other side is whatever it is that you want. If you would like to play cards all day with old friends who have also crossed over, you may do so. If you want to cook in a big beautiful kitchen, you may do
So this is all
so.
projected. It's like
If you
visual. It's like it's not like actual cards, but they can project this that they're doing this.
Yes, exactly. And it's at least this is what I've been shown. The thing that I've been shown by spirit is that the other side is whatever it is that you can imagine it to be. Whatever it is that you can dream up. The fun part is you could eat as much ice cream as you want and not gain an ounce. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. I've ordered
Um,
champagne when I cross over. I'm like, let's
oh, well, that too. You can have both at the same time and you won't get a bellyache.
nope.
Um, so it's just an amazing and everyone thinks of heaven or the other side as this place. It's really a state of being. It's a different dimension than what we are experiencing now. And it's a thought away. that's what I usually tell my
Wow.
clients, is that your loved ones are literally a thought away.
They're all around us. That's how
Yes. Yes.
and if someone comes to the other side and they've been traumatized or had a terrible life or things have happened, are there actual healing places that they go to on the other side? Do you know that?
Yes,
Are
there
there actually healing
are.
places that they like,
When
you know,
we
they
cross over, yes,
so we
yes.
cross over, so they've
When
been
when
through
we
all this?
cross over, we're given a life review when we cross over. And that life review, there's a huge book that has everything that is supposed to happen to us in this particular life. I generally liken it to going to school. So a new soul is entering kindergarten, and you have a group of other souls that are in that class with you, and you graduate from year to year. And each year, the curriculum gets a little more challenging. Maybe that's the teacher in me that makes that metaphor of life being like school. Um, so each lifetime, you're learning and doing more things that you are challenged to do by the universe. And the whole purpose is to learn and grow until you become the highest frequency that you can become. And so, what was the question you asked me?
That's fascinating.
There's so
I'm
much to
listening
tell
to
you
what
about
there's
the
so
other
much
side.
about healing places on the other side, so that I am. I mean, I've
Oh,
been told
healing places.
also.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
So there are healing places. If there was trauma that a soul suffered, there are healing places on the other side. There there's what seems to be like school on the other side, where you can go and learn a few things. You have the choice of reincarnating if there are certain things you did not complete in this life. You can reincarnate and redo it, or you can stay on the other side and do what I call work. They have jobs on the other side. They have uh, counselors that they see, angels that help them. It's so complicated and so complex, and yet very simple, that the goal is to love, grow, and heal and learn.
That's
You know,
beautiful.
just to keep growing and
That's
learning.
that's beautiful, Pamela. I actually asked through someone once of my husband, "What are you doing there right now?" And at the time, he said, "I'm actually greeting children who are arriving to the other side." So they do have different tasks and jobs that they
Yes.
do there to help
Yes, they
people,
do. Yes, they
right?
do. And they don't have to take on a job, but they have them there. Sometimes they're assigned to it, and sometimes it's given to them as a choice.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I love this when you say there's enough room in the sky for all the stars to shine. So talk about
Mm-hmm.
that and tell us, how does a soul determine if he or she has set all the goals I know that we set out our lives or what we intend to do before we come here. So
Mm-hmm.
how does a soul know if he or she has accomplished everything they set out for themselves to do in a lifetime? There are people listening to us are saying, whoa, I came with an agenda. And if the
Mm-hmm.
goals are not accomplished, you're saying a soul can immediately reincarnate right back onto the planet, so there's no big time differentiation with the past
Now,
life and all that.
because again, there's no time on the other side, Irene. So, yes, when a soul crosses over, they sit down and they go through a life review, and they look at that agenda that was planned for them when they descended, and um, whatever was not accomplished can be set for them to accomplish in the next life, or they can choose to reincarnate immediately and accomplish those goals, or work it out on the other side. It all depends on how big of an issue, if it was their entire life purpose and they missed it, they're probably going to reincarnate again and redo it. It's just like getting left back in kindergarten. You don't go on to first grade. You have to repeat the grade. But for the most part, they are given the opportunity to work it out. You know, the minor things they're given the opportunity to work out or
Wow, that's
carry
so
over to the
cool.
next life.
So that's so cool. So you cross over and you get your life review and you get all annoyed, probably like, oh, I was supposed to accomplish all this stuff. And I actually had a family member who came back, who came through a medium and said to me, I was really selfish. And I wanted to say, yeah, you were. And he said, I was really selfish in this lifetime. And I'm
Hmm.
sure that he's working to try to help his loved
Yep.
ones who he basically let down in this lifetime or whatever he
Yes.
has to learn from that.
And
So that's something he's
that
taught.
happens quite a lot, where, you know, you're shown your flaws. You know, this is the big mistake that you made. So what are you going to do about it? And you have the opportunity to work, like I said, on the other side to try to make amends for that, to try to straighten that out. Or you can, you know, restart, get reincarnated, and repeat that entire goal again, or carry it over into a different life.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's
So
amazing.
it's amazing, just amazing. So I know that before you knew you were really an animal spirit intuitive,
Hmm.
you started working on some lost pet cases
Hmm.
for an associate who was a medium.
Hmm.
So you have this beautiful story about this beautiful dog who got lost hiking with her owners.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then after she died, she showed you what she had experienced that led to her death. That is so cool. So Pamela, could you tell us that
Yes,
story?
it was a heart-wrenching story, really heart-wrenching, and she communicated with me so well in such detail.
So like you just
There,
get the thought impression as it's coming through, like she's actually talking to
yes,
you.
so I usually get into a meditative state when I'm looking for a lost animal. I'll go into a meditative state and I'll call upon my spirit guides to help me and to help me connect with that animal's spirit guides. So the two spirit guides will talk to each other. It's like playing telephone sometimes. And and I was able to connect with this particular lost animal, who again was given to me by my associate, who is a medium. She's also an animal communicator, and there were other mediums that were working on it, and I didn't know at the time. And I told them that this beautiful dog was in the woods. She succumbed to the elements. It had gotten cold. And one of the things that she showed me, this beautiful dog, was an empty dog dish, which just ripped my heart open because she had no food. She had no food. And that was part of the issue. That's why she succumbed to the elements, gotten cold. She was malnourished. And I was able to come up with a few other things that she showed me. And when I went back to the owners, the other mediums also saw the same things and were given the same signals. And that particular story really affirmed for me that this is the work I should be doing. I had done others, but that one always stood out to me. I think because I was validated by other professionals who had been doing this type of work for a long time. You know, when you start out doing something that you're not doing professionally, it fills you up with some self-doubt. You know, you start to second guess yourself. Um, and so as a second guesser of myself, I was feeling good that the things that I saw, the messages that I received from this particular dog, as sad as the messages were the same as the other mediums. And
It,
it
it was
really,
validating your gift. It sounds like it was
yes,
totally validating your gift. And then you had another one
absolutely.
where you found a lost show dog.
Yes.
And I love that you talk about with this story that sometimes ego can cloud our vision, and that's a really important part of this story too. So could you share that one with us also?
Sure, sure. So again, there were other people working on a particular case where a show dog went missing, and I made contact with this dog immediately, and I knew exactly where she was, and I kept interjecting in this long text conversation back and forth. This is where she's at. This is what you need to look for. This is what you need to do. And it was like my voice was not being heard at all. And these other uh, animal communicators and mediums, they all started kind of bickering with each other and not remembering their purpose. I think that their toes got stepped on a little bit and their egos kind of got in the way. And I realized, and that was a valuable lesson for me, ego has no place in this type of work, especially. And that's where I say there's enough room in the sky for all the stars to shine. Everyone has their gift. Everyone can do the things that I do. Um, it's just a matter of tapping into that frequency. So needless to say, yes, I was correct as far as where that show dog was. They finally listened and they did find the dog, which was wonderful. And I'm glad that that had a happy ending. But it was a valuable lesson for me because I realized, ego could really damage a situation. This poor dog was out there on her own, lost. We were trying to find her and they forgot that. They forgot.
Right.
So check the ego at the door. Spirit doesn't have patience for that. Neither does the universe. They don't like it.
So when they get their life review, as spiritual supposedly as they've been, they're going to see and experience and feel how that was a lesson they did not learn in this
Yes.
lifetime, obviously,
Yes.
about
Oh,
humility.
I'm hoping that they did learn. I'm hoping that they did learn it and that they understood what happened there. I mean, we're all flawed.
I mean, there's no judgment on the other side.
Right.
They just show you.
Right, exactly. They just show you the facts on the other side. And I'm hoping that they did learn that valuable lesson that you need to really step away from ego and understand that this gift comes from a much higher power. My husband usually tells me, "Oh, you're too humble, you're very gifted." That may be so, but I am gifted because of my divine connection to God, to the universe, to my spirit guides, to my angels. It's just that I've tapped into that frequency. And so it's not necessarily me, Pamela, this wonderful person. It is my divine connection. It is
I
that
see the same
divinity
thing for
that
what I'm
provides me the
doing.
ability.
Just like you, Pamela, I see it the
Yeah.
same way. It's kind of you signed up for this. It's
hmm
your purpose. And
hmm hmm
I just have a lot of humility about it also, that like you, we're helping people, and that's a gift.
Yes,
Thank goodness.
it is. It is.
So there's another story you have about a deer stuck in a fence, and that's what inspired you to identify this as your true calling and to move on from your
Yes.
life. So tell us about that. And then I want to
Yes.
ask you about some of the animals in your life who have taught you
Sure.
important lessons in your life.
Sure. So I was driving to work. I was teaching at the time, and I found myself getting more and more frustrated with my job. I loved working with children, but I found it to be very confining. I wasn't doing what I was called to do. And this one particular morning, I was driving my regular route to work, and I started to feel very panicked. I mean, I started to have a panic attack, and I thought, what is going on with me? I don't know, why am I feeling this? I'm on a little side street. There's no reason to be panicked. I'm not in any danger. What's happening? I felt like the world was going to end. And as I rounded the
Wow.
corner, I looked, and there was this beautiful deer stuck in a fence. And I can see she was struggling, and my heart nearly stopped. And it sounds so trivial, but I realized that I was picking up on this animal's feelings, being empathic. I was feeling exactly what she was feeling, and she was in a total panic, fearing that she was going to be killed. And I quickly pulled over. There was a crossing guard on the corner. I grabbed her. She said, "Okay." We flagged down a police officer who happened to be driving by. There was another one. "Oh, we have to go here. We have to go there." I called. and I'm looking at my watch and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to be late for work. My children are going to be waiting for me in my classroom. What am I going to do? I have to save this deer. I was a wreck, Irene. I was a complete wreck. I was so worried about this deer. And I ended up getting in my car. I had to drive to work. And while I drove, I called the police station at least twice, begging and pleading for this deer's life because I thought they were just going to kill the deer. We're so overpopulated with deer. They're just going to kill the deer and put it out of its misery. If it was injured, forget about it. And I went to work hysterical. I was crying, sobbing, trying not to cry. I must have looked horrible by the time I got to my classroom, and just was sick about it the rest of the day. And the next day, and I just kept feeling that this is not where I'm supposed to be. This is not where I should be. This is what I should be doing, saving animals. I
Especially
should
because
be
of
there
how
to save them.
you empathically got what the deer was feeling. So
Yes.
that's what you get from animals. You
Yeah.
actually,
I actually feel what they're feeling at times.
wow.
And it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes I can actually physically feel what they're feeling, which is lots of fun if they're eating something that's not very palatable. Um, so the next
Wow.
day, a friend of mine showed me a video, and the police officer saved the animal. They saved the deer. They had an older gentleman who was working for their DPW came with a welder, and he cut open the fence because the fence was an cast iron fence. They opened it up. They saved the deer, and I felt like I was born again. And I thought, yeah, I can't do this again. I can't go through that again and then teach all day. It's not fair to my students because my head was with that deer, not where I needed to be. And so it was about that time I decided it was time to leave the classroom and start pursuing animal communication full time. There's lots of healing that needs to be done, and I need to help these animals and their owners.
That's wonderful. That's so wonderful. So I really, I love that you talk about that so many of the animals, and you've had so many in your life, so many of them have taught you important lessons in your
Yeah,
life.
absolutely.
And it's important for our listeners to know that if they have animals, their animals are placed in their lives for them to learn lessons also,
Mhm.
if they choose to allow that in. So let's talk
Yes.
about some of these lessons that you've learned. The first one, you had an animal who taught you a life lesson, guided you to paths and all. Tell us about Aggie and how she helped you with your grief over your sister Sissy. And then you even had a long conversation with her before she passed away. So
Yeah.
let's hear about
Yeah.
how Aggie
So
helped you in your
Aggie,
life.
my dad brought Aggie home when I was 4. I was 4, just about to turn 5, and I had been sick that day. I had, I guess, a little stomach flu, and Aggie came, and I instantly felt better. And I was always with my dog, always with Aggie. And my sister Pat, or as I would call her, Sissy, and I would spend lots of time with Aggie. We walked her everywhere, and Aggie had she had 8 puppies because she had broken free one day and had a romp with another dog, and my sister and I actually helped deliver the puppies, which was amazing as a child to experience the birth of puppies. Um, she had been hit by a car and survived. She was fine. You know, um, she was just bruised up a little bit. She had been poisoned by someone who lived in the neighborhood, who was not very nice, and they had stuffed a bone with something that had poisoned her, and the vet suggested we just put her down, and my dad didn't want to. He wanted to give her another chance. And that night she crawled up on my bed and she was fine. She came through the night and she was okay. Um, Needless to say, Aggie taught me most of all strength and how to endure challenges in life, and she did them all gracefully. When my sister Pat got married, she had moved to Florida originally, and I remember Aggie would sit in the dining room and howl. She missed my sister so much.
Wow.
And 2 years later, my sister was killed in a car accident. And
So
at the
sorry.
time, Aggie was also very devastated. She felt our grief as if she understood everything that had happened, even though Sissy wasn't living with us. She had been married for 2 years and she didn't see her every day. She seemed to understand exactly what happened. And if I go back a little bit, Sissy and Aggie and I would walk together. We would walk Aggie all over town, and we formed a club called the Pals Club. We were pals, and it was really very cute. As I look back on my childhood, I had wonderful sisters and wonderful family that spent a lot of time with me. And so after Sissy passed, Aggie and I were still pals. We were still pals together, and the evening before Aggie passed, she passed a week after my 17th birthday, so she was a little over 13 years old. She laid on my lap, and she was a German short hair pointer. She was a beautiful dog, and she laid up on my lap, and I was talking to her and thanking her for being such a good friend to me, a wonderful companion. And I heard her in my head say to me, "I'll see Sissy and we'll be pals again." And it was amazing to me. And at the time, I guess because I was wrapped up in my grief for losing my dog and still thinking of my sister, that I guess it just didn't resonate, and it didn't click in my head that I was communicating with my dog on a telepathic level.
Wow.
And really, I didn't get that until I was learning how to dog train, um, that I could do this, and not everyone could. But it was amazing. We had a beautiful connection, and it brought me such closure to be able to have that last conversation with her, and how she reminisced and thanked me for all the fun that we had together. And as heart-wrenching as that was, I hold that in my heart forever.
So beautiful. What
There
really
was it was a
impresses
true
me,
love.
it yeah, and she knew she was going to see Sissy again. She knew that she was gonna
Yes, she
cross
knew
over
that.
and see Sissy again, which is amazing.
Yes. Well, animals do understand. Animals are very accepting of death. They understand it is just a transition from one realm to the other, from one form of energy to another, and they accept it as part of the life process. Us humans, we're the ones who become hysterical over it, um, because we're not sure of what's to come. After being an animal communicator and communicating with so many animals that have crossed over, and talking to even spirits on the other side, I understand it so much better now than ever before, that death is not the end. It's not the end for any of us. It's really just a transition.
It's so true. And I want to also ask you to tell us about you had another dog that's an intuitive dog named Maddie, and
Mhm.
she's the one who pushed you into dog training.
She did.
All right. And now everyone's going to want to know how you did this. How did you transform Maddie from a naughty puppy into a best behaved
She
dog?
was she was an amazing dog. She she was a very naughty puppy. We had adopted her, and she was probably the worst puppy I had ever had. And I had lots of dogs and cats and all kinds of animals, and she was just incorrigible. She would not behave
She came to you with
ever.
emotional issues.
She did. She absolutely did. She was like the devil. I would sit on the couch and she would come out of nowhere and just pounce on me, and she laid in bed and she pulled my hair out. I had a bald spot on the side of my head. She ate part of the carpeting. She ate pieces of the wall. No matter what, I even put hot sauce. I put Tabasco sauce on. We had these pillars in our apartment, the beautiful apartment, and she licked the hot sauce off of the wall she was chewing on, the pillar she was chewing on, and sat down and wagged her tail and barked for more. She just,
Wow.
I thought for sure she was just going to be this awful dog. And I had said, this was my first husband. I said, either you get this dog trained or we're sending her back because I don't know what to do with her. She's chewing everything. She's not listening. So we decided to take her for dog training, and I made fast friends with the trainer there and became very intrigued with obedience training, and that's how I learned how to dog train. She trained me, and I went through her program, and Maddie ended up becoming the best behaved. I worked with her all the time. My ex-husband worked with her. I could give her commands from all the way across the yard, and she would listen to me. Hand signals, verbal signals. I put a lot of work and time and effort, but she also connected to me on a spiritual level. When I became pregnant with my son, she started to act very strange. She would lay next to me with her head on my belly, and I just couldn't understand why she was acting this. Everywhere I went, she would like lean into me and walk with me. She wouldn't let me out of her sight, and I thought, what's going on? Is she not feeling well? What's happening? And then I found out I was expecting. And I said to her once, "Where's mommy's baby?" And she took her nose and went boink right on my belly. It's like she knew exactly what was happening. When my son was born, she was so thrilled. She was so thrilled. She slept under his crib.
Wow.
She was so maternal with him. Anyone that came over, she would try to sit on top of them so that they wouldn't touch the baby.
Wow.
She was wonderful. She was really very
So you
wonderful.
turned her from a naughty puppy not only into a best behaved dog, but you brought out her kindness and her compassion too.
Yes, yes. And she really was she was a phenomenal dog. She really was a phenomenal dog, and she always shared her thoughts with me.
What would you
Um,
say
it,
is
it-
the most valuable life lesson you learned from Maddie?
oh boy, from Maddie, my biggest lesson from Maddie is there's always something else to learn. It's never too late to learn something, and there's always something new to learn. And I didn't even I never thought that I would be a dog trainer because I was already teaching, and to become a certified dog trainer was just, out of the blue. And I loved it. Loving animals the way that I do, and that led me to discover my gift of communicating with animals. That is when I realized, uh-oh, not everybody talks to their animals the way that I do. How strange. How strange for everyone
It's
else. I
amazing.
just assumed everybody could communicate with their animals the way that I did.
Wow.
So that really woke me up, and that's really where things started to begin for me as far as animal communication, where I found out it was the thing.
Right. And then
I
for
just thought
Maddie,
everybody
right.
did it.
Right. Yeah. And hardly. And that's why people, I'm sure, love going to you because you can help them with their animals so much. And then after Maddie transitioned, you got Ralph. So you have a tremendous story about Ralph and how you knew he was meant to be your dog. And then I want to ask
Mhm.
you after that, I guess we're kind of talking about it because I know you telepathically communicate with animals to check in on their health conditions, their behavioral issues, and any concerns that pets human have. So please tell us about Ralph and then transition to how you're able to find. I mean, do you just talk to the animal? Like what's bothering you? How do you find out what's wrong with them and how you help the adult in their lives to help them and deal with it
Mhm.
when the person is seeing the dog is uncomfortable or whatever, but they don't know exactly what's wrong, but the
Mhm.
dog can tell you. So tell us
Mhm.
about that. Let's start with Ralph and then we'll go on to the other
Okay.
piece.
So Ralph is an amazing dog that it was it it was our first holiday season without Maddie. Maddie had passed in July, and it was the end of December. And my son, out of the blue, just said to me, "If we ever get another dog, I would really like a Malamute." I said, "An Alaskan Malamute? Yes, that's the kind of dog I want." I said, "Oh, well, okay. Can we get that dog?" I said, "Well, we'll see." And the next day would have been Maddie's birthday, and December 29th. And I got a text message from the animal rescue that I was volunteering with, and she said, "Alaskan Malamute puppies, want one?"
Wow.
And she had no knowledge that I had this conversation with my son the day before, who was only 10 at the time. And I said, "Yes, yes, I do. Send me pictures." And I saw all the pictures. He was one of 11. He was found in an abandoned house in West Virginia, and my mom's family comes from West Virginia. My mom had passed already,
Wow.
and I thought, "Oh, gee, that's weird, that he comes from West Virginia." And I looked, and his name was Cole, Coal. All the other ones had names like Rudolph and Comet and Blitzen, from all the reindeers. And his name was Cole, like a lump of coal. And I thought, gee, that's weird. He comes from West Virginia and his name is Cole. And my mother's family, they were all coal miners. My great grandfather was a coal miner. And, what a coincidence. And it happens to be Maddie's birthday. And my son just asked me for an Alaskan Malamute. Gee, all these coincidences. And I agreed to foster him. And he was delivered to me on Orthodox Christmas. My mother's family was Russian Orthodox. So that was a big deal. And I thought, I have to get this dog. And he was the sweetest, calmest, non-crazy dog. Up until then, all of my dogs had some kind of an issue. Even Maddie, as good as she was afraid to walk across a kitchen floor, any floor that was shiny. Terrified of thunder. Ralph came and he is just zen with the world. Everything's good with Ralph. Nothing really bothers him. Just give him lots of food. He likes food. So I ended up keeping Ralph, and here we are almost 13 years later. He's part Malamute. He looks like maybe some Lab and Shepherd mixed in there, and he is my son's best friend, and has been just such a wonderful, wonderful pet to have. He's
That's
great. He's
marvelous.
really great.
So now
So I know he was meant to be.
he was meant to be for you. And now someone
Yeah.
comes to you and their dog, they don't know what's going on with their dog. It's a health condition, it's a
Mhm.
behavioral issue, it's some concern the person has about the dog. Do you talk? Do you communicate? You say the dog, "What's up with you?" Or how do you
Yeah,
find out this
that's exactly.
information to tell their person?
So generally speaking, when I do an animal session, I don't necessarily have to be with the animal. I can do it long distance just by looking at a picture, and I will ask them if I can speak with them. I always ask permission. I don't just start talking to them, because they're just like we are. You're not just going to start talking to somebody. Hi, how are you? Would you mind if? And I'll tell them who sent me to talk to them, their mom's name or their dad's name, and their owner. I call them mom and dad. Um, and they generally will be very happy to oblige, and I'll scan them. I scan their bodies in my mind, and I ask if there's anything in particular that is bothering them physically. 9 times out of 10, they will make me feel it.
Hmm.
I will feel, let's say it's arthritis, I will feel that pain in my leg or in my back. If it's something, digestion, having issues digesting certain things, I will feel it in my stomach. And then I'll again scan them in my mind and see if I can find something else that's there, something that's causing it. And that's exactly how I start my conversation with them. I will ask the owner if there's history of any kind of behavior or physical issue, so I know what to zero in on. A lot of times people think, oh, well, you're asking me questions and you should be able to tell me. And that's not really the case. I'm asking questions so that I can give you the most specific and concise answer, not because I'm trying to lead you down this road to get more information. It's really so that I know I'm on the right track and I can get you the most specific information that's going to help.
Right. So once a person, you've communicated with the animal and you know what's wrong, does this get followed up usually with a trip to the vet, or are you able to do things on your end sometimes to help the dog before the vet step is necessary?
Sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's a little bit of both. I've had situations where I've actually gone to a vet's office virtually. So they'll have me on the phone while the vet is working on the animal, and I can send Reiki healing through distance, to try to keep them calm, and to try to help them get through that examination. Sometimes it's I just have a sprain, or I have a headache. I'll send them some healing energy so that they can get over that. Sometimes yeah, you need to take your animal to the vet. They need to have a blood test, an X-ray, etc. So it could be a variety of things.
That's so cool. And what led to this belief of yours, Pamela? If you don't answer the call, the universe will knock you on your butt until you answer.
Because I was knocked on my butt. Boy, was I knocked on my butt. So the medium friend my associate who I had mentioned earlier, she who really propelled me into this work. She said to me, because I kept telling her I cannot leave my teaching position. I can't do that. I can't come out and tell everybody what it is I do. The parents won't want their children in my class. They'll say that I'm a witch and they'll burn me at the stake. And I had all of these excuses, really, and it was just ridiculous. It was just fear, unfounded fear. I've gotten nothing but embraced with open arms since I have opened up about being my true self. And she said, if you don't answer the call, the universe will always find a way to knock you right on your butt. And I said, yeah, I know. And 30 days later, I had a freak accident and broke my ankle. And it was right as COVID was starting. And not only did I break my ankle, but I developed a blood clot in my leg. And I have very bad arthritis. So the orthopedics didn't want to do surgery. They said, doing surgery is not going to be good for you long term. Let's just, leave it alone. And I had to be on blood thinners, and hard getting back and forth to the doctor because of COVID, So during that time is when I really started meditating regularly. I mean, really meditating. And I came up with Animal Spirit Intuitive, LLC. That is my company. And I had cards printed up, and I started working on a website, and I really started to put myself out there little by little. I dipped my toes in the water, so to speak. And I started listening to the universe because I didn't want to be knocked down a second time.
Yeah. One broken ankle is enough, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So just before, I want everyone to know all the ways that you can help them and all the ways that they can get a hold of you. But before we go there, I just want people to know that animals cross over just like humans do, right? And
Yes.
do they go to the same place on the other side? Is there, and then they talk about a rainbow bridge. What is all of that about when it comes to animals?
Rainbow Bridge really is based on a poem, from what I'm understanding, that there's this this bridge that it's made out of a rainbow, and that's where our animals cross over and go to this happy place. They go to the same exact place that we go. They transition and they're in the same boat we're in. So there really is no different place. I know there are a lot of religions and faiths that say animals don't have souls and they don't go to heaven, and that's not what happens. I don't want to put anyone's faith down, but it's my experience that that's not the case. Things that I've been told by spirit, that is not. We all go to the same place. Once you're a cat, you're always a cat. You can reincarnate as many times as you want, but you're always going to come back as a cat. Same thing with being a human. You're never going to come back as a horse or a bird. You're always going to be a human.
And that would be another conversation, how we decide on the other side if we're going to be manifesting as dogs, cats, or humans or whatever. That must be really interesting.
Yeah, as far as I know, you are what you are, and you're not going across species. That's what I've been told. So yeah, they do go to the same exact place, and they have the same questions we have. They get a little life review. I feel like animals are a little more advanced spiritually than we are. They're almost like junior angels
Junior angels,
because
yeah.
they come here to teach us things. They come here to specifically teach us things and do things for us that humans cannot.
Yeah.
So they definitely have a distinctive soul mission.
That's amazing.
We'll say.
And it's wonderful. And the other thing is, I'm sure that for animals who've been abused and mistreated, there must be healing places for them also when they
Yes,
cross over.
absolutely.
Right? So tell us about,
Absolutely.
you've got animal communication sessions, you've got spiritual card readings, you've got your mediumship sessions for individuals, you've got group mediumship sessions, you've got Reiki for animals and humans, you help people connect with lost and
Mhm.
stolen pets, you've got animal communication workshops. So tell us all about all of it. And if there's anything I left out, let us know.
Well, no, you didn't leave anything out except I'm now offering end of life services for animals.
Wow.
I have found a huge demand for help when owners are faced with having to say goodbye to their animals who are transitioning, whether that be through a humane euthanasia or if they're moving on their own. I find that humans are really struggling with it. They're really struggling. They want to make sure there's no stone unturned, that they've done everything that they can for their animals. And um, I am more than happy to help bring closure and help their animals transition. Again, animals view death very differently than we do. They know that it's part of the life process. They know that there's more than just this. Humans have a very difficult time. So I can offer animal communication and Reiki healing for both animal and human during that transition time to try to bring more peace to that transition for both the animals and their owners. I find that there's a real demand for that. And so I'm now offering that as an additional service. And all of those services.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just
No.
going to say all of those services are on my website, which is animalspiritintuitive.com. I could be reached via email at animalspiritintuitive@gmail.com. My phone number is always available, 201-394-2532.
And we'll be providing links to everything also in the show
Perfect.
notes.
Thank you. Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Yes.
I'm wondering, go ahead, Pamela, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to throw in there that I don't have to be in the same location. I offer all of my services via Zoom. You know, if you're local, I will be happy to travel to you. If you're not local, I have a client who is in England. I have clients in California and Texas, all over the country. So I'm more than happy to work through Zoom to help anybody who needs it or to provide any of the services I provide.
That's wonderful. And I was also going to add that I'll bet you that there are people who are on the cusp of whether they should put their animal to sleep. And they probably bring they probably bring their animal or talk to you about that animal too, because I'm
Yes.
sure the animal can express to you if they're
Yes.
ready or they need a little more time, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I'm more than happy to do that.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
And that,
what if a human says, listen, I can't handle it anymore? Like you're incontinent, you're this or that, you're telling me you want to stay a little while longer. How does that's choice to the human or
I generally haven't faced that. I haven't faced that situation. I would say that all of the pet owners that have sought help from me are really interested in what their animal wants and needs first and foremost. So it's not about it's really difficult, or there's too many wee wee pads all over. It's not. Of course, they want quality of life for their animal, so that's what we check in on, and we ask the animal, is there quality of life? Are you happy? Are you uncomfortable? Are you in pain? Are you ready to transition? So yeah, through a session we can work all of that out. But generally speaking, the humans are more than happy to accommodate their animal,
that's
especially during that time.
wonderful. And do you have an offer for our podcast audience today?
I do. I do. It is not on my website, so they would have to contact me and I can book the appointment for them. And they could do that again through my email or phone number.
And there'll be links and all that,
I
right?
am I am offering $15 off of any service that I am offering if they mention the podcast.
Grief and rebirth, everybody.
Yes.
And what is the Pamela Miller message about the importance of healing?
Gratitude. Seek
Gratitude.
gratitude. You have to, in order to heal, you have to seek gratitude. And the importance of healing, you cannot help anyone else if you are drowning. So if you are suffering a terrible trauma, you can't help your son, your daughter, your husband, your wife, your friends. You can't help anybody else who is in a traumatic situation. You could be there physically for them, but you're not really going to be able to help them move on and help them heal if you were not healed yourself. So just like when you're in an airplane, you have to put that mask on first before you can save somebody else. You've got to get yourself together before you can save somebody else, before you can help somebody else. And you do that working with an attitude of gratitude. Always look for what you are so grateful for, the little tiny things that, maybe some people don't always think of. Gee, I have a cup of coffee in front of me. Isn't that wonderful? Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful cup of coffee. Thank you for that light breeze through the trees. Thank you for the birds singing. Find gratitude, and then you can heal. That will definitely help you heal. And being of service to others brings healing as well.
I
But
could
you have to get yourself up first before you can help somebody else.
I totally agree with that. And have you got a tip also about finding joy in life?
I find joy through helping others. Excuse me. I find joy through being of service to others. My work brings me joy, absolute joy. I was recently communicating with some horses who had an abusive background, and it brought me such joy to be able to bridge the communication gap between this horse and her caretakers. I was on cloud nine for a week after that. So, being of service to others, using your gifts that you've been given, doing what makes you feel joy. If it's tap dancing, do it. If it doesn't matter what anybody thinks or how anybody else feels about it, if it brings you joy, do it, and be of service to others.
It's beautiful. You
And
know,
that's how you find joy.
Pamela, you're a joy and a true
Thank you, and
blessing.
you as well.
Thank you. And you're such a true blessing. And I'm thrilled for you that the divine spirit has called upon you to utilize and your gifts are so impressive, to facilitate
Thank you.
healing in both people and animals. So you also help, like if a person is contacting you for their animal, they can also contact you for themselves. I mean, you're a one-stop shop
Yep.
for both people and animals, which which has led to your such a fulfilling life mission for you. Thank
Yes.
you for helping so many in need from
Oh,
your nurturing place of warmth and love. I mean, it's
thank you.
just
Thank
wonderful.
you. Again, it's not me, it's the divine that works through me, and I'm so blessed to be able to do the work that I do. It brings me such joy, and what you are doing, Irene, with your podcast is phenomenal, and you are bringing healing and joy to others as well. And your story is incredible as well, and you are such a blessing. You really
Thank
are,
you.
for
I
all
think
of
we're
us.
a mutual admiration society, and
Yes,
I
we
yeah,
are.
right. And thank you so much from my heart for this touching. It's actually been a very touching, fun, and enlightening interview. And as
Thank
I
you.
like to say, to be continued. Thank you so much, Pamela.
Thank you, Irene. Many, many blessings to you and to your
You too.
listeners as well.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. To be continued.